Sidhu Aide sparks row. Team Sidhu brazens it out. Will the High Command finally take action? Captain versus Sidhu, battle reloaded. Top focus and to the point this evening.
Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. It does seem that whatever peace that was brokered in the state of Punjab within the Congress unit was only on paper. Because viewers, the feud which started since 2018 is still festering as of now. The latest, the spark of it, was one of Sidhu's aides making a controversial statement where he first went on to suggest that Kashmir is not part of the country, and then a highly controversial post was put forth on his Twitter timeline. Well, a lot of backlash happened. Sidhu called a meeting today. His advisors went, but his advisors came out completely defiant, like they had done absolutely nothing wrong.
Navjot Singh Sidhu's takeover as the Punjab Congress chief was highly controversial. And now brews another storm. Courtesy his advisor and close aide, Malvinder Singh Mali. First, Mali referred to Kashmir as a separate nation. And in the latest, he followed it up with this post. A post showing former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi holding a gun and a skull, standing amidst a mountain of skulls, a sketch from 1989. His controversial post has opened the floodgates of criticism, with leaders cutting across party lines slamming Sidhu's aide. Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh called Sidhu's advisor's comment as atrocious and ill-conceived. Congress leader Manish Tiwari shared a similar sentiment.
If someone does not respect the unanimous position taken by the Indian Parliament on this issue, then a very, very serious question manifests itself that should such a person be really even a part of the country?
The opposition also lashed out at the Congress, reminding Sidhu of his hug with former Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa.
Upon being asked as to why you hugged the Army Chief Qamar Bajwa and as to why you said Jive Jive Pakistan, Mr. Sidhu had replied then that my captain is not Captain Amrinder Singh. My captain is Rahul Gandhi and he had sent me to Pakistan. So of course today the question that arises is, will Mr. Rahul Gandhi answer whether he appointed the advisors of Mr. Sidhu?
It wasn't just the BJP. That infamous hug, even then had Sidhu Beta Captain Amrinder Singh criticize him.
How can it be that every day somebody is being shot, and whether the man who pulled the trigger is to blame or the man who gives the order, which is the chief, and the chief is Mr. General Bajwa, and to say that I don't know General Bajwa, but yahan likha hota hai unke tunic ke upar, that's wrong, and I think that was wrong for him to have shown the affection he did for the Pakistani Army chief.
The latest controversy has finally forced Sidhu to take note. The Punjab Congress chief summoned his newly appointed advisors, Malvinder Singh Mali and Dr. Pyare Lal Garg, to his residence in Patiala for an emergency meet on Monday. However, post the meet, both his advisors remained defiant.
उससे कोई बात नहीं हुई क्योंकि माली साहब का जो पोस्ट है माली साहब का अपनी इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी में है, जो मैं बोलता हूँ वो इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी में है जी सर। जो ये बोलते हैं कि हमने वहाँ क्या किया वो हम जिम्मेवार हैं उसके लिए।
मैं फोटो हटा दूं जो मैं संपादक सी ओदा वो तो लेख छपे हुए ने फिर तुसी वो कह दोगे आ लेख ने मेरा नवजोत ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਬਾਰੇ ਏਜੰਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝ ਆ ਇਹ ਸਾਂਝ ਖਾਤਰ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਰ ਆ।
Team Sidhu seems to have decided to brazen this one out as well. The spotlight once again on the Congress High Command. Will the riot act be finally read and Team Sidhu reined in? Or will mercurial Sidhu and his new team continue to run riot through the Punjab Congress unit 6 months before elections? Bureau Report, India Today.
So which one is it, viewers? Is Team Sidhu being brazen, being belligerent, or is the captain making a lot more than what is actually right now on the table? Let's cut across to our guest this evening. I have Sanjay Jha. He used to be with the Congress. In the studio with me is our consulting editor, Rajdeep Sardesai, our senior editor, Harmeet Singh, who's got a keen eye on the Punjab elections, which are going to take place in the next 6 months. Rajdeep, let me begin with you. And it's all happening 6 months before elections. The fact is, how do you read this? Is the captain making an issue of something, or is now Team Sidhu provoking?
You know, I think it reflects all that is wrong at the moment in this arrangement which was created between Navjot Singh Sidhu as party president and captain as the chief minister. The scars, the wounds of that battle are still raw. So then when you have Navjot Singh Sidhu unilaterally appointing people as advisors, some of whom have been known as captain baiters, who have been writing, speaking against the captain, what's the message? The message is that the war is still on. I mean, it could be a proxy battle which is being fought through the advisors against captain. On the other hand, captain is clearly uncomfortable even now with the idea of Sidhu, getting this larger than life role. I'm just coming back from Punjab. On the roads of, I was from Chandigarh to Ludhiana, half the posters have captain's image. On the other side of the road, there are pictures of Navjot Singh Sidhu. So clearly the Congress still, for all those photo ops that you may show there, is a house divided. And these comments and the manner in which they've been made about the kind of sensitive issues that they've made only end up embarrassing the Congress leadership both in Punjab and in Delhi, because they will be used by the opponents. When you use a statement, Kashmir belongs to Kashmiris, now you can certainly make that statement in your individual capacity, but once you become an advisor to the state president, they will be seen as some kind of an official line of the new Congress president. So it's an embarrassment for the party in a state where even today, I believe the Congress has its best chance of winning the election 6 months from now.
Sanjay Jha, isn't it an embarrassment for the High Command as well? Because right now you just don't have the Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh, looking at the High Command. You have leaders from the Congress, senior leaders at that, Manish Tiwari, who keep saying that action needs to be taken. There needs to be a crackdown.
Preeti, Rajdeep is absolutely right. The Congress is a fractured house. Let's not, kind of have any wrong notions about it. What happened over the last couple of weeks when this hurriedly arranged framework was created by making Navjot Singh Sidhu the president was a fragile truce. I remember you and I were on the show together, and you asked me that question, and I said, listen, this is a frail framework, and it is going to be susceptible because politics has people with massive egos, and let me tell you, they have the memory of an elephant. And when public humiliation happens, if the other guy makes a goof up, well, frankly speaking, it doesn't matter whether the person is from your own party. The fact remains that you want to neutralize that individual as soon as you can. You're already seeing it at play. Firstly, I think the statement made is actually walking into the trap of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Why will Sambit Patra or Mr. Modi or Mr. Shah not make political capital out of a statement in a sensitive state that actually plays into the BJP's muscular nationalism hands? And the fact remains that truthfully, you cannot make such outrageous comments. So ultimately, the Congress is going to pay a huge price because I can tell you the differences between the two of them are irreconcilable.
Okay, all right. But when we're talking politics, is Punjab different here? And I'll bring in Harmeet, because Harmeet, let's talk politics here. The issue which has been raised is a nationalist issue where you're talking about Kashmir. In a state like Punjab, 6 months away from election, are national issues actually that big? Will this actually strike a chord with the Punjabi voter, talking about Kashmir?
No, I'm not too sure that, this will create a significant buzz in Punjab. If it does create a buzz at all in Delhi, which it is, I think is going to be advantage Sidhu. I explain it how. Because Captain Amrinder Singh is seen as, in Punjabi perception, there is a large section of Punjabi population which sees Captain Amrinder Singh as a darling of powers in Delhi. So now when he raises nationalist issues, when he raises issues of national security, when he raises issues of foreign policy, these are the issues that lie well within the domain of central government. But people will see it that, he is trying to, he is trying to divert public attention from governance issues, and number two, his whole,
so something like this would have worked in a UP, but it will not cut in
no,
Punjab.
it will not cut with voters in Punjab. Definitely not. To be honest, it's a phony issue which will die its own death sooner than later.
Why are you shaking your head, Rajdeep?
No, Harmeet is right that in the context of the Punjab elections, it may not influence the voter. But please appreciate, we live in an age where optics matter in politics across the country. This is not just about Punjab. There are elections in February, March across 6 states, including Uttar Pradesh, including Uttarakhand. These are also important states in a way, particularly Uttarakhand for the Congress. When Sidhu's advisors, when they make these statements, need to recognize that now they are no longer freelancers. They are now being given official positions. In those positions, when you make statements, it will give an opportunity to your rivals to utilize, exploit them. And the sense I got after being in Punjab this weekend is that battle between Sidhu and Amrinder is a running daily battle of some kind of the other. The war of words, over appointments, over who will you eventually give tickets to. All of this is going to play, and the last thing you want is a house divided. It may not be, this itself may not be an election issue in Punjab, but any antagonisms between Amrinder and Sidhu will affect the cohesion of the Congress going into an election. It opens a window of opportunity for your rivals to exploit that the Congress is a house divided.
But Sanjay Jha, why even look at Uttarakhand? Why look at a UP election there? You right now have another chapter playing out in Chhattisgarh. What's the messaging there?
Well, it's a double whammy for the Congress. One, what Rajdeep correctly mentioned, is the fact that both these, gentlemen are likely to be at loggerheads all the way through. We'll have to see what the election results ultimately demonstrate. The second part is this very outlandish comment. Now, you know the BJP. What has Sambit Patra said in his press conference today? He's gone for Rahul Gandhi. Because the larger import of such statements, even if they are made by somebody who may be a cipher even in state politics, is to give it a national scale, right? You increase the dimension of that. And therefore, please remember, all these things are noted down and they will be trended on social media. And don't be surprised if even heavyweight BJP politicians use it in the state elections next year, including Gujarat in December. So I can tell you that, polarizing is a BJP strategy. Hyper-nationalism or muscular majoritarianism is their strategy. And the Congress is providing them fodder. So I would like to add a point here that please do not see any fissures in the Congress from a very localized, lens. I think the ramifications of anything that the Congress does wrong, because the Congress's political communication, honestly, I have always said it and I've said it publicly, is a standard joke. The cost is heavy. And I think the BJP will extract a pound of flesh for anything where we make a bloomer.
But Sanjay, why are we waiting for the BJP to extract a pound of flesh? And I'll bring in Harmeet here, because Harmeet, if you look at it, it's really not the BJP, because this issue was brought to the fore, but none else by Captain Amrinder Singh.
Yes,
if the captain hadn't raised it, BJP wouldn't have picked up on it.
Precisely, because these two gentlemen, whether it's Mr. Garg or Mr. Malli, they are not known nationally. They are not the Prashant Kishores of Sidhu team. They are known well within Punjab circles, but Captain has raised their stature to the national level. That's number one. Number two here, when we see Captain raising these issues, nationalist issues of national security, then it also lands in a way the Congress high command in the dock. When Congress goes out in other parts of India and it loses this moral right to question the BJP to raise issues of national security because their own chief minister raises them in his own state. So in a way, it's a catch-22 situation for the Congress itself.
Would you reckon with that?
The irony is, and this is again something I saw this time in Punjab, is I didn't know this, that the toll plazas, I'd forgotten about it, the toll plazas are all still, the farmer agitation is still on there. Every toll plaza is now blocked by farmer agitation. It's unique, it's never happened. That's the issue. Let's be clear, the farmers' agitation is a major X factor. The manner in which that agitation in the next 4 or 5 months is handled, Captain Amrinder Singh, Harmeet is right, is clearly perceived as someone on that agitation to be closer to the center than he is perhaps seen as a sort of voice of the farmers. So there are, wheels within it. My only point is that you cannot go into a major election, any state election, with your party and your state government pulling in different directions. And that has to be resolved, in which the Congress has not. The Congress has appointed Mr. Sidhu, the Congress High Command, and it's allowed Captain to continue without resolving the core issue of the antagonisms and setting some kind of a Lakshman Rekha as to what the Captain is meant to do and what Sidhu is meant to do. Unless that is sorted out, you're going to have more such instances like this in the months ahead, and each one of them will only widen the fissures within the state Congress.
Sanjay, would you reckon now that with what has gone down, the Congress has created a conundrum for itself? Because while the Congress is infighting, you clearly created a place for the Bharatiya Kisan Union to actually mull over that if there's political space for us or not. Should we band together and form a political outfit?
Preeti, kamikaze is one of the special arts that the Congress party has discovered now for a long time, and it is implementing it judiciously. I think I completely agree with both Rajdeep and Harmeet that these statements may not have a direct import in the Punjab elections, where farmers' issues and electricity costs, etc., are maybe more fundamental. But please remember, smart politics means that you take up an issue raised here, as you correctly said, by the Punjab Chief Minister himself, going to an internal warfare, and then you give it a national scale, magnify the issue. Because the BJP is right now thinking 2024 as well. It's not just thinking about, Punjab.
Okay.
Punjab, maybe the BJP is not even worried about Punjab. They may have even written it off today. But BJP is looking at other states in 2024. And all this provides them with ammunition they can take to town. After all, remember, Mr. Modi won 2019 on hyper-nationalism and nothing else.
All right, appreciate you gentlemen for joining us. Well, right now it's not even 2024. It's Uttarakhand, it's Uttar Pradesh, it's Chhattisgarh, the internal battle which is playing on. And more interesting, what is happening in Punjab, because there are fears that the Bharatiya Kisan Union might actually band together with the lack of political space right now.
You very quickly mentioned Chhattisgarh. Look what's happened. Both the Chief Minister and Mr. T.S. Singh Sidhu, the other big leader, are now coming to Delhi because they've not been able to resolve the issue. Mr. Singh Sidhu believes that the Chief Minister should have been, Chief Ministership should be divided 2.5 years. Again, you're going to have to resolve this. Conflict resolution is critical.
While Sachin Pilot is waiting for his men to be put in the cabinet.
While Sachin Pilot is waiting for weeks. So I think this is the larger issue. It's not just about Punjab. It's about the Congress's capacity, ability to resolve conflicts within.
Appreciate you all for joining us. Up next is Rahul Kaur.